Namaste and good evening. We'll start with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now we'll chant Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times to pray for all those who are in suffering. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrityor Mukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrityor Mukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome everyone. We are discussing the causes of birth of Lord Rama in our Ramacharitamanasa, today the class 8. So Lord Shiva tells Parvati that there are innumerable causes and he is telling a few of them. So we discussed already the story of Jay and Vijay. Last class we had the story of Narada's delusion. There are a few more causes which I'll tell you today. So one is Manu and Shatrupa's desire for Lord as their son. So Lord Shiva is telling Parvati, Apar hetu sunu sailu kumari, kahun vichitra katha vistari, jehi karan aj agun arupa, ब्रह्म भयउ कोसलपुर भूपा, जो प्रभु विपिन फिरत तुम देखा, बंधु समेत धरे मुनि बेशा, जासु चरित अवलोकि भवानी, सती शरीर रही बौरानी. So Lord Shiva is telling Parvati that I'll tell you one more cause, and the reason for which the Lord took the form of Rama. The Lord Absolute became, the God Absolute became Lord Rama. And it is the same form, the same birth of Rama which you saw in your last birth as Sati, and you got deluded. So if you remember, previously the story was that Lord Shiva and Sati are coming back from Sage Valmiki's place, Sage Agastya's place, and then Sati sees Lord Rama in the forest, and Mother Sita was abducted, and Lord Rama was very disturbed, trying to look for where Sita is, and looking at this play, Sati got deluded that how can he be Lord who doesn't even know where his wife is, who abducted his wife. So Lord Shiva is saying that it is the same Lord Rama in that birth. I'll tell you the story of that birth of Lord Rama. Swayam Bhumanu Arusat Rupa Jinite Bhe Naru Srushti Anupa दंपति धर्म आचरणनी का, अजहु गाव श्रुति जिन कैली का. So there were this couple, Swayambhu and Manu. So sorry, not Swayambhu. Manu is the one name. Manu is the name of the king, and Shatrupa his wife. So this couple, Manu and Shatrupa, they are known as the first couple. So something like Adam and Eve, from whom all the human beings are born. This couple, when they were the ruler of the kingdom, and practically the whole earth was their kingdom. And when they grew older, they realized that they have not attained the purpose of life, that is to find God. So they gave their kingdom to their eldest son, and they went to forest as mendicants to meditate, to perform penance. And when they went there and they did a very, very strict penance and very serious meditation, in their heart there was a desire that let the Lord himself be born as their son. That was their desire. So when somebody asked that how is it possible, from the Lord himself all the creation has come, how can he be born as your son? And he says, nothing is impossible for Lord. He can also be born as our son, even though he himself is the source of all creation. So with this belief that Lord can fulfill any of their desires, they starting performing the penance and meditation. And after a very long time, Lord appears before them. There were other gods who appeared before them before this, asking that please ask a boon of us. This generally is believed that if a person is performing penance, doing the meditation, he may see some divine beings who can fulfill his or her desire. But in this case, because their desire was to have the Lord himself as their son, nobody else could fulfill this desire. Only the Lord Absolute. So when they kept on meditating and performing penance, and then they hear this voice of the Lord from as if coming from the whole sky, that I am very happy with you. Please ask, what do you want? So first they said that we want to see you. You please come in front of us. So Lord says that, look, I don't have any particular form. So in which form do you want to see me? And they also did not know in which form they want to see him. So they just said that the form in which Lord Shiva meditates upon you, we want to see you in that form. So Lord appeared, and they were extremely happy to see Lord in their front in a personal form. And then Lord asked them that, please tell me, what do you want? And they said, we have a very strange desire. It's very difficult when I think of about myself that how can it be fulfilled, but it should be something which is very easy for you to fulfill. So I'm not, and you know my heart, so you understand what do I want. So Lord said, that is okay, but I still want to know from you, what do you want? And do not worry, I am capable of fulfilling any of your desire. So then Manu said, the husband Manu, he said, I want to have you, or I want to have someone like you as my son. He did not say, I want to have you as my son. He said, I want to have someone like you as my son. Then Lord said, where will I go to find someone like me? I myself will be born as your son. So he said, in this life, you go and just a few more years of your life are remaining. After that, you will go to heaven, and in your next life, when you are born as king of Ayodhya, as Dasharatha, I'll be born as your son, with my, along with 3 of my brothers, so total 4 brothers. They will be my part, the manifestation of my some divine qualities. So I will be born as your son in that birth. So king was very happy to hear that, Manu, and then he asks Shatrupa, the wife, that what do you want? And she said, I'm very pleased to hear what my husband has asked. So that is very favorable to me also. But I also want that your devotees, the kind of joy they have, the kind of discriminative qualities they have, and wherever they finally go to, I want all that. So Lord was pleased to hear her request, and he granted her that boon. And he said that by my grace, you will never lose your discriminative power. When king heard that, he said, Lord, but I have this wish that when you are born as my son, I should look at you only as son. I should be really mad in love with you as my son. And I do not want to have the knowledge of you being the Lord Absolute, born as my son. And my love for you should be so absolute that if there be any separation, I do not want to live any further. So Lord granted him that. So these are the few verses here. श्रवण सुधा संबचन सुने पुलक प्रफुल्लित गात बोले मनु करि दंडवत प्रेम न हृदय समात जो अनाथ हित हम पर नेहु तो प्रसन्न होई है बर देहु जो स्वरूप बस शिव मन माही जहि कारण मुनि जतन कराही जो भुसुंडी मन मानस हंसा सगुन अगुन जहि निगम प्रशंसा देखई हम सो रूप भरि लोचन कृपा करहु प्रणतारति मोचन छवि समुद्र हरि रूप बिलोकी एकटक रहे नैन पट रोकी चित वही सादर रूप अनूपा तृप्ति मन मानहि मनुसतु रूपा. So I already told you the story of these verses, so I'll go further. So that is one of the reasons why Lord took the form as Lord Rama. So Shivji is telling Parvati that this is one of the cause. Then another story. So there is a story of Pratap Bhanu, why Lord was born as Lord Rama. यह इतिहास पुनीत अति उमहि कही वृषकेतु भरद्वाज सुनु अपर पुनि राम जन्म कर हेतु. So if you remember in the starting, I told that this story of Lord Rama is being told in multiple groups. So one, Lord Shiva is telling Parvati. At the same time, Sage Valmiki is telling his disciple Bharadwaj. And Kakbhushundi is telling to Garuda, and Tulsidas is telling to the saints. So there are 4 places the story. So Tulsidas is, when he is writing the Manas, he has combined all these 4 dialogues, one place to another. So like you will not find the clear distinction, but in between he has given the names different, so that you know that 4 places the story is going on. So he is saying that Sage Valmiki is telling Bharadwaja here that this was the story which Lord Shiva told Parvati. Now please listen to another cause of Sri Rama's birth. So there was a king, his name was Pratapabhanu. He was very powerful, as well as he was very righteous king. So he's giving Saptadeep bhuj bal bas कीने ले ले दंड छाड़ नृपदीने सकल अवन मंडल तेहि काला एक प्रताप भानु महिपाला. So he was so powerful that he won over all the kings of the earth. And when he controlled the kingdom of a king, he would basically give the kingdom back to the king, but ask him that you be under my name and give me some tax every year. But otherwise, he left them fairly autonomous. So there was only one emperor in the whole earth at that time, and that was Pratapabhanu. And he was also very righteous. So here it is. जेहें लगी कहे पुराण श्रुति एक एक सब जाग 12 सहस्र सहस्र नृप किए सहित अनुराग. Whatever sacrifices has been enjoined in Vedas and Puranas, the king performed all those with devotion. He would also take care of all his subjects very, very well. Everybody was very happy in his kingdom, and king really did not have any enemy king. So he was putting all his attention in doing his dharma, both towards the people as well as whatever is enjoined by the scriptures. So like that, the life was going on. Once king, along with his people, he went to the forest, and there was a tradition earlier that kings would go and they will kill a few wild animals or deer, etc. So king went on that kind of trip, and when the day was coming to an end, he saw a huge boar, like wild pig. And as if that boar is challenging the king. So king took the challenge and he started chasing the boar. And when boar saw king coming towards him, he ran. And king tries to shoot an arrow to the boar, but somehow boar hides himself and dodges the king's arrow. And like that, he is going deeper into the forest and king is following him. Nobody else from the king's group could keep the pace, so king remained alone. Yet he did not give up the pursuit, give up the chase of this boar. Finally, boar went into a very, very deep forest, and he went into a cave which was inaccessible for the king to go. So king was disappointed. Now it was already dark. King was hungry and thirsty. He turned around and he lost the way. In this condition, when he is really thirsty and hungry and tired and not knowing the way, he saw a hermitage from a distance. So he goes to the hermitage, and there he saw a monk. So he bows down to the monk. This monk sees the king is thirsty. So he points the king to a nearby pond. King went there, drank the water, washed his horse, let the horse also drink water, and he became much better. He felt much better after this. So he came back and again bows down to the monk and sits down there. Now this monk, he was not really a monk. He was one of the kings who this Pratapabhanu, this emperor, he had defeated in his course of wins earlier. And this king, he got defeated by Pratapabhanu, but he did not want to live in his subjugation. So he went to forest. Instead of accepting the subjugation of Pratapabhanu, he went to the forest, created this hermitage, and took the garb of a monk. But his whole mind was that when the time will come that he can take the revenge from Pratapabhanu. That all was his motive. He was just biding the time. Till the time then Pratapabhanu becomes weaker or he becomes stronger and he can take the revenge. So he could recognize Pratapabhanu, but Pratapabhanu did not recognize him, partly because he was in the garb of a monk and partly because he was always thinking of taking the revenge from the king, but Pratapabhanu was never thinking about him, and Pratapabhanu was also tired and in a very different circumstances. So this fake monk, he was very happy to see Pratapabhanu coming there, and now he was started thinking, how can he take the revenge, this monk? And Pratapabhanu has no clue. He just thinking he's so fortunate that he was lost in the forest and now he's seeing this monk and he got some help. And he is also, in general, kings at that time, they were visiting the monks in the forest and they would consider that as their good fortune. So Tulsidas ji is saying here, Tulsi jasi bhavatavyata taisi milai sahai apun avai tahi pahi tahi taha le jai. Tulsidas ji is saying that if something is inevitable, it is invariably preceded by circumstances that are favorable to it. Either those circumstances come towards the man or they take the man to those circumstances, which causes his doom, or it could be otherwise, it could be for his good also. But in this case, it was towards king's doom that he goes to this monk, this forest and meets this monk. So monk asks that, because monk recognized him, so he tells Pratapabhanu, look, who are you in this forest alone, roaming around without anybody else? When I look at your forehead, I see that you have all the signs of an emperor. So tell me about yourself. And Pratapabhanu, being a king, he knew the politics. He understood that where to reveal his identity and where not. So he just, at that time, he just said, I am the minister of Pratapabhanu. I got lost in the forest and that's why I'm here. He did not say, I am myself king, Emperor Pratapabhanu. But monk, of course, knew him. And he said that, okay, so be it. I would suggest that your city is still very far and you take rest here in the night and in the morning you should go back. So king also was tired and he did not know the way. It was night, so he accepted that suggestion, Pratapabhanu, and he stayed there. And then he asks that, please tell me about yourself. He asked the monk, please tell me about yourself. Who are you? How come you are staying in this part of the forest where nobody else is around? And that monk says that, okay, I mean, I don't tell about myself to anybody, but since you seem a person of good disposition and you are a devoted nature, I'll tell you about myself. My name is Ektanu. So he says, what does it mean, Ektanu? The monk says Ektanu means that I have had the same body since the beginning of the creation. I haven't had death. I haven't faced death. So I'm staying in the same body since the start of the creation. So king was extremely impressed, and he became even more devoted to this monk. And then he started, because now he realized that it was his mistake to hide his identity from such a great person. So he started telling about himself that, look, I earlier told you I am minister of the Pratapabhanu. So then monk stopped him and he said, look, I know you told me and I know your real identity by the power of my penance, by the grace of my guru. Nothing is unknown to me. I know sitting here, I know everything in the whole world. So I know that you yourself are King Pratapabhanu, and I do not mind that you did not reveal the identity, because it is the right thing for a king to do. So you did what was the right thing, and I'm actually happy with you. So like this, king became even more devoted. And then Tulsidas ji is saying here, Tulsi dekhi subesh, bhulahi mood na chatur nar, sundar ke ki hi pek, bachan sudhasam asan ahi. So Tulsidas ji saying that not only the fools, but even the clever men are taken by fair appearances. Look at the peacock. Though its notes are sweet like nectar, he is very beautiful to look at, but it devours snakes. So when king became even more devoted to this monk, the fake monk, the monk who was taking the fake dress of a monk, fake garb of a monk, and he was indeed a king who was defeated by Pratapabhanu earlier. He now thought that there may be a time, there may be an opportunity to take his revenge from Pratapabhanu. So he asked Pratapabhanu that, look, you are such a devoted person, I am extremely pleased with you. You ask me a boon. I am so happy that I am willing to grant you anything you want. And look, nothing is impossible for me to give. By the power of my penance, by the power of the grace of my guru, there is nothing that which I cannot give. So you please ask a boon. When king heard that, and he was already under his spell, he said, okay, since I have gotten this opportunity to be in the company of such a great sage like you, I'll ask something which is really precious, really a boon which nobody else asked earlier. And sage says, that monk says, of course, you can ask anything. As I told you, I'm very happy with you and nothing is impossible for me to give. So the king says that for 100 kalpas, if you remember in the last class, I told you the measure of kalpa. So 4.32 billion years. So king says for 100 kalpas, my body should remain healthy and young and strong. I should be the sole emperor of the whole earth. And there should be nobody unhappy in my kingdom, nor should I have any competition from anybody else. And even the gods should be bowing to me. When he heard that, the monk, internally he became pleased, because when somebody asks for such an impossible thing and he has such a devotion to you, you can always take advantage of that person's situation. So this monk told, look, this will happen exactly the way you have asked. I grant you the boon. But there is one problem. And Pratapabhanu says, what is the problem? He says the problem is the Brahmins. So everybody can come under your control except Brahmins, because Brahmins are superior by their penance and meditation. And if they curse you, then nobody else can save you. But if Brahmins come under your control, then exactly what you have asked, you will be granted. Now Pratapabhanu is further gets impressed by him and says, now I have come to this distance, I have found somebody like you. You please only tell me that how to bring Brahmins under control. And that monk says, look, it is not an easy task and I have to do myself a lot of sacrifice. I have never been involved in any matters of any other man so far. I have been just content with my meditation since the beginning of the creation. And then king says, well, sometimes sages are so soft of heart that even if it is a difficult thing for them, they have to take some pain, they still try to help others. And that monk says, yes, I understand, and you are so devoted to me, so I'll do something. So he tells him a scheme. He says, you invite the 2,000 Brahmins with families per day for a year. So you announce in your kingdom that you want to do this great sacrifice, and every day 2,000 Brahmins with their families are invited. And what I'll do, I'll come there and I'll cook the special food for those Brahmins. When Brahmins eat that food, they would become under your control. They will do what you want. So you will have no fear of their curse. But listen, O king, if this thing, whatever I'm telling you, reaches anybody else's ears, it will be your doom. So you please be careful that you do not discuss this thing with anybody. And also when I come to your place to cook the food for Brahmins, I will not come in my own form. I will take the form of your cook so that nobody has any suspicion of any kind. And king was very happy hearing all this. And monk offers him further that now you sleep here and I'll, by my power of meditation, I'll transfer you in your sleep to your own palace. So you don't have to worry about how to go back to your palace in the morning. So king slept happily with complete trust in this monk. And this monk, who was actually looking a way to get the revenge from the king, he had this accomplice. This was a demon who had some magical powers. He could take the different forms at will. And this demon also was defeated by king. His brothers were killed by king in one of the earlier battles. So enemy is the friend. With that principle, this monk who was a king earlier, fake monk, and this demon, they became friends together. And they decided, they were trying to figure out how to defeat Pratapabhanu. So when the king slept, this demon comes to this monk. This demon was the same person who had taken the form of a boar and who had brought the king here in the first place. So that boar who king was chasing, that boar was nothing but this demon. And he wanted to bring the king to this place in lonely forest. So when the king has slept and these two people are deciding what to do, because this demon had some magical powers, the monk told him that you use your magical powers and take the king back to his palace, and he should not be woken up in the process. And second thing you do is you take the form of his cook and go there. So that's what this demon does. Demon takes the king in his sleep, puts him into a palace in his room. And when king and he also abducts his cook and he puts him into one of the inaccessible caves, locks him up there, and he himself takes the form of the cook and be there. So when king gets up in the morning, he finds himself in the palace. His faith in the words of the monk is even more strong now. And when he meets the cook, then cook tells him, look, I am the same person, same monk whom you met. And when king hears that, he was very happy that his guru, now he is considering that monk as guru, that his guru has come here to bless him, to help him to overcome the power of Brahmins. So when king invited these Brahmins, what this cook, who was the demon actually, what he had done was, he cooked a lot of different types of food, but he also cooked in that the meat of human beings, as including the Brahmins. So that is considered the most forbidden food for anybody. In general, meat is forbidden. On top of that, the meat of human beings. On top of that, the Brahmins. So that was the most forbidden kind of food one could offer to anybody, let alone Brahmins, who are generally very pure in their food and other conducts. So when this kind of food was offered to Brahmins, and when they were about to eat, there was a voice from the heavens that, "Oh Brahmins, do not eat this food. This food will spoil you, it will make you fall down from your high status, because it has the meat of Brahmins." When Brahmins heard that, "You will lose your dharma," the voice said. When Brahmins heard that, they became so upset, so angry, they immediately cursed the king. They said that, "O king, you have behaved like a demon, so you should be a demon. You would get destroyed. All your kingdom will be destroyed. And everybody in your family will be soon dead, and you will actually become demon along with your family members in the next world." When king heard that, he started trembling. He did not know what happened. And then he goes inside, and there was no cook. And he comes back again and falls down at the feet of Brahmins and said, "Look, I do not know what is all this. It's none of my fault." And Brahmins also understood the whole thing when they heard the whole thing, and they said, "Look, whatever is to done. Our words will not come to fail. So sorry that even though it's not your fault, but you still have to face the consequences." So with that, this king, he became Ravana in his next birth. And that Ravana, he had 10 heads and 20 arms. This 10 heads and 20 arms has a metaphorical meaning also. Heads means lot of thoughts. So lot of ambition, lot of thoughts, lot of confusion also. And 20 arms shows his might. He was very mighty and powerful. Ravana, the name, literal meaning of the name is that one who causes others to cry, one who makes others weep. So he became Ravana. Kalpai muni sun soi raja, bhayo nisachar sahit samaja, das sirta hi bis bhuj danda, Ravan naam bir bari banda. This Ravana, he became a demon, a very powerful demon. And he had a brother. The same brother, Pratapabhanu's brother, became his brother here, and his name was Kumbhakarna. So Ravana, Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna was having a very huge body. And he was extremely powerful. He also had another brother who was half-brother. His name was Bibhishana. Bibhishana was previously his minister. And even though Bibhishana was born in the demon family, his nature was towards dharma. His nature was towards devotion to the Lord. But Ravan and Kumbhakarna, they were born with demon nature. They were really the enemies of all the good people, all the Brahmins and other sages and saints. So in order to gain the power, further power, they started doing penance. All three brothers, they started doing penance. Because they were doing a very sincere and serious penance and meditation. Lord Brahma, the creator, he appeared before them and asked, what do you want? So first he asked Ravana, what do you want? Ravana said, look, I want immortality. I should not be killed by anybody. Nobody should be able to defeat me. And Brahma said it is impossible. In this creation, the rule is that anybody who is born will die. So you can keep some exception for you, but I cannot give you the immortality en masse. So Ravana said, well, in that case, accept human beings and monkey, because he considered these two as very inferior to his might and power. So he said, except human being and monkey, I should not be defeated or killed by anybody else. And Brahmaji said, okay, granted. This boon is granted to you. Then he comes to Kumbhakarna, the second brother who was really huge, who was really big god. When Brahmaji looked at Kumbhakarna, even though it was his creation and he had created this demon, he, looking at his body, he himself got alarmed. He thought that if this demon he eats every day, my other part of my creation will become non-existent very soon, because he eats so much. So this demon, who really wanted to ask that I should be awake for 6 months and only sleep one day after 6 months, and Brahmaji, when he saw what is in his mind, he thought that nobody in my creation will remain alive if I give this demon this boon. So he requested Saraswati, who is the goddess of intellect, that you reverse his wish. So Kumbhakarna asked that I should be sleeping for 6 months and awake only one day after that, and again 6 months sleep. And that's what he asked, and that's what he was granted. Then Vibhishana, he asked that I should never deviate from dharma. I should have the devotion of Lord in my heart. Brahmaji was extremely happy when he heard that, and he gave a extremely long life to Vibhishana without him asking. A kalp, a long, like I told you, practically till the end of creation, he gave him. So Vibhishana is still considered living. There are some people who are considered immortal in Hindu religion, and Vibhishana is one of them. He is still considered a living person, even till today, because of that boon of Brahma. तिनहि देई बर ब्रह्म सिधाए, हर्षित ते अपने गृह आए, मैं तनुजा मंदोदरी नामा, परम सुंदरी नारी ललामा, सोई मैं दीन रावण ही आनी, होई जातु धान पति जानी. So Brahma granted boons to all these three, and then he went away. These three people, they were very happy. They came back their home. There was a demon. His name is Maya. He was an architect, a great architect, one of the greatest architects. And some people believe that Mayan kingdom is the place where he was living, and on his name, the Mayan kingdom in the South America, that place was there. Of course, there is no way telling that it is true or not, but I'm just telling you what some people believe. So this Maya, he had a daughter named Mandodari. And Mandodari was very beautiful. He gave his daughter in marriage to Ravana, because he could see that Ravana would be the king of demons. So he gave his daughter Mandodari in the marriage to Ravana. There was a city called Lanka, which at one point of time Maya had architected. Now some people were living there, and that was a very beautiful and safe city. So Ravana, because he got a lot of power because of the boons he received, he goes to that city and defeats everybody who is living there. And He occupies that city, he likes that city a lot, and he makes that as his capital. And he gives all the other demons the houses there, and he became the king of that place. फिर सब नगर दसानन देखा, गयो सोच सुख भयो विशेषा, सुंदर सहज अगम अनुमानी, कीन तहाँ रावण रजधानी, एक बार कुबेर पर धावा, पुष्पक जान जीत ले आवा. So he also once attacked Kubera. Kubera is the lord of wealth. And also he was half brother of Ravana. Kubera had a very special vehicle. It was an aeroplane. Its name was Pushpaka. And he captured that special plane from Kubera, and Ravana kept that under his control. And then Ravana, he wanted to win over all the gods in the heaven also. And he knew that gods in the heaven, they get nourishment by the fire ceremonies which Brahmins and saints and sages, they do on the earth. So he asked his fellow demons that you should go and kill all these people and destroy their fire ceremonies and all the rituals and dharma, so that the devas would become, the gods will become weaker and we will win over them. So they started doing all these things, and there was a lot of terror on the earth. When earth saw that, so in Hinduism, in Vedic religion, even the earth is not just a piece of matter, it is also considered a divine being which supports everybody. अतिशय देख धर्म के ग्लानि, परम सभीत धरा अकुलानि, निज संताप सुनाए सिरोई, काहू ते कछु काज न होई. So when earth saw that dharma being violated in such a manner, she became extremely distressed and perturbed. Earth is portrayed as mother because she supports everybody. So it is said that earth took the form of a cow, and she goes to different people like Brahma, other gods, and they are not able to help what to do. So they all sat together, all the people who were troubled by this terror of Ravana, and they thought only Lord can help us. So when they decided that only Lord can help us, they started thinking that how to find the Lord. So here it is. बैठे सुर सब करहि विचारा, कहाँ पाइए प्रभु करिए पुकारा, पुर बैकुंठ जान कह कोई, को कह पै निधि बस प्रभु सोई, जाके हृदय भगत जस प्रीति, प्रभु तह प्रगट सदा तेहि रीति, तेहि समाज गिरिजा में रहेऊं, अवसर पाई बचन एक कहेऊं, हरि व्यापक सर्वत्र समाना, प्रेम ते प्रगट होहि मैं जाना. So they were discussing where to find the Lord, all these gods. So somebody said, let us go to Vaikuntha, because Lord, one of the abode of Lord is known as Vaikuntha. Then another said, let us go to the ocean of milk, the Kshir Sagar. Then Lord Shiva said, he was also in that group. He said, I know that Lord is present equally everywhere, but he is revealed only by love. And this is a very famous verse of Manas. Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana, Prem te Pragat hohi मैं जाना. So with a lot of love and devotion, they started singing the prayer to the Lord. And Lord appeared before them and he said, I know what is happening. Please do not be afraid. I myself will take the form of a human being. I will come into the form of Lord Rama and then I'll kill this demon. So do not worry, do not be afraid. It's not very long that it will happen. Before long, I'll come. And I'll come as Rama and I'll be born to Dasharatha. So this is another reason why Lord took the form of Lord Rama. So with these reasons, today we will now continue the story from the next class of the birth of Lord Rama and his other plays. So with this, if you have any questions, you may please ask any questions or comments. If there are no questions, we'll close the class with the prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all.